All right, so this morning I woke up to a lot of news surrounding 9.2 and a lot of people tagging me on Twitter about the implementation of solo queue arena in World of Warcraft for patch 9.2. There's a lot of stuff to cover here and a lot of different things being added in this patch, so I will have timestamps listed below so you can kind of skip around the video depending on the part that you're interested in. But let's first start with solo queue. So a lot of you guys know that solo queue is something that I've wanted to see in World of Warcraft for quite some time, and I've been advocating it with my friends for a long time because as an arena player, someone that enjoys PvP, it kind of sucks when you can't find queues, or if you're someone that's not very experienced, it's hard to gain that experience because you're not regularly practicing. And even if you are an experienced player, if your friends aren't online, you don't really have anything to do for the day. And that's not really a good way of spending your time playing the game. Now, Morgan Day came out and said that he loves PvP and that he wants to see solo queue being added. But they want to test it out in a brawl feature first, which is similar to what Halinka had suggested during his interview with Venruki a few months ago, if you remember that. This most likely means that they're probably going to be implementing a solo queue ranked system in the next expansion, because it wouldn't really make sense adding it in now in 9.2 towards the end of an expansion, and it's a great time to test out the feature in general. Now, with that being said, the way that they want to do this system is they want to create a system that reduces the overall levels of RNG by throwing 6 players into a pool and then randomizing the teams until all the combinations have been satisfied to, again, reduce any levels of RNG of getting bad teammates or comps that don't really make sense. And overall, I think it is a smart way of handling things and trying to reduce that RNG, but I do see some potential issues with the system. First of all, if you're just throwing in 6 random players, a team, and one healer into a pool of 6 players, the healer that gets thrown into any group will probably has a higher chance, I should say, of winning these matches, at least at a decent level of MMR, right? If you're playing as a healer and the other teams don't have a healer, you should win most of your games. So unless you're throwing in an adequate number of healers and you're organizing the games based off of that, you're probably not going to be that happy if you are a DPS player. Additionally, I do see an issue of knowing that you're not going to come out on top or win anyways. So if you're going based off of points, and let's say you're a class and you're just not winning, most of your games, and you know that you're going to lose based on seeing how many games you've won in that series, some players may be more likely to run it down mid or just grief and throw the game because they can see that they're not going to win, versus a quick match where you just have one game. Even if you get an unfavorable comp, you still will probably give it your all, or more likely to give it your all, because you don't know that you're going to lose. You might lose, but you still have a chance of winning. Whereas in this system, it's more deterministic based on the amount of points that you've acquired. Also, I do think the length of games adds to toxicity, right? In League of Legends, for example, when you're playing in a league match, nothing is worse than being in a 40-minute game that you're probably going to lose, or you're not doing well. That's generally where a lot of the toxicity comes from, is the length, right? Being trapped in a game doesn't feel good, especially if you don't think you're going to win. But overall, again, I think it's a great system, and I think it's a good start for solo queue, and players can test it out and provide feedback. For me personally, though, I am bittersweet about this whole thing. I really do share a lot of the sentiment that my friend Savix has, and that, I'm so happy for everyone that wants to try this out, and I'm happy that Blizzard is finally listening. But it does kind of suck that it had to happen after so many people have left the game, and it didn't happen when people had worked so hard at providing feedback and just wanted to see it being added to the game while they were actively playing the game. And it's now being added because people are voting with their wallet. And a lot of people will say no shit, and I totally agree. I learned that the hard way, but it is a bit bittersweet for me, but I am happy for so many players that are looking forward to this mode, and I will be following it closely, and I look forward to seeing how they implement it going into the next expansion if it does well in this brawl feature. Now, with all of that, Blizzard is also looking to add tier sets, which was something that they promised before Shadowlands, and then they said it wouldn't be at the start of Shadowlands, and now we're getting it at the end of Shadowlands. And 9.2 probably being the last patch or major patch of the expansion. It is again a bittersweet kind of thing because so many people probably got into Shadowlands because they wanted class tier sets so bad, but you are getting them now. If you are playing the game, and what you are getting on top of that is the ability to earn them through various facets of the game, including PvP. Now, it will be interesting to see how they balance that and how, if is one form of the game easier to earn tier sets than the other. If you remember, I think they were called Echoes of Nyalotha for your corruption. Doing PvP was one of the most effective ways of farming your corruption currency. And a lot of people were upset about that, especially if you're a PvE player. You were just spamming low MMR games and kind of crushing noobs. And that wasn't fun for the more inexperienced player. And it also probably wasn't fun for the player that didn't like PvP. Selfishly, I loved it because it was so easy to earn those points. But nonetheless, you will also be able to equip multiple legendaries in 9.2, which, by the way, is something, again, that so many people saw coming, especially when you started playing the game. So many of the legendaries just looked like they could have worked so well together. Now, you will only be able to equip your class legendary and then one covenant legendary. However, I think it'll be really fun for a little bit. I think it'll be just, there's so many cool combinations that you can make. But additionally, I think it will be, let's be honest, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to balance, especially for PvP. Like Triune Ward Mage with anything else, it's going to be a disaster in terms of balance, but it will probably make for really fun gameplay, at least for a couple of weeks, being able to put all these legendaries. And you're most likely going to have to refund some of your legendaries, if you're a PvE player at least, to make sure they match with your tier set and the slots don't overlap. But at least you can refund them at 9.15. So that is a positive change, I would say. But I do think the legendary system is probably going to be a disaster. And it wasn't something, although you could have 2 legendaries in Legion, it wasn't something that you did experience as a PvP player, because in PvP and Legion, legendaries were disabled. Now, with that, we're also getting this new zone, and the new zone looks significantly better than any of the other zones we've gotten, at least in terms of Korthia. Korthia, in my opinion, now I know it's just an opinion because visuals are always opinion-based, totally get that, and for me, Korthia looked like doo-doo. It really did look like doo-doo. It was like doo-doo with chains. There was like chains coming down, and it was just like this big doo-doo rock. I didn't like Korthia, and I hated doing dailies out there. At least this zone looks a lot more visually pleasing, and you get a lot of mounts. There's a snail, and they have like this little dance, Dance Dance Revolution thing that they're trying to do there. I wonder where they got that kind of thing from, but they're adding that in the game. And overall, there's a lot of good things coming to 9.2, and the prophecy has been fulfilled. Where you complain, and at the end of the expansion, with 9.2 being the end of the expansion, really, they finally fixed the game. And at this point, if you're looking to play Shadowlands, or you kind of miss World of Warcraft, or you haven't really given it a shot yet, you're probably getting the best version of Shadowlands that they could have come up with. So that is, I would say, there's irony in that, but it's also a positive if you're looking to get into the game. For me personally, it's super bittersweet. Is it enough for me to want to play the game? Honestly, not really, because first of all, I just hate, I hate the fact that I have to admit to myself that the best way to get change in WoW is to vote with your dollar, right? It's and not just in, probably in everything in life, right? Like, you can be a loyal fan and want to support the game, but sometimes the best way of doing that is really voting with your dollar. And the people that have gone off and tried other games or played other games, they're really responsible for a lot of this positive change. And if you're someone that currently likes the game, you're reaping all of those benefits, right? And then if you're someone that really likes the game but doesn't want to play it right now, you're also seeing a lot of the change being implemented in the game. And I'm still a bit burned by that. Additionally, though, I also feel like I've enjoyed a lot more. I've enjoyed just kind of standing on the outside and seeing the changes that Blizzard is implementing and how players react to them, and seeing the solutions they come up with, rather than going through the pain of testing all of these things out myself and providing feedback. I like kind of just being on the outside for at least right now. But who knows? I'm more interested to see what they do in 10.0 than 9.2. Will they take the feedback from 9.2 and make 10.0 a much better expansion? For me, that's more of what I'm interested in. But nonetheless, I'm super excited about the solo queue thing. I want to see how it works out. I will be following it closely for sure, because that is something that, I did push for a really long time, along with a lot of other people. And, it does feel a little too late sometimes. Some of these changes just feel a little too late. But, for me personally, I'm just not the kind of person to kick someone or anything when they're down. I will tell people or say, hey, this is wrong, or this isn't fun, or this isn't right, or I don't like this. But when someone's trying to at least make the game a bit better or trying to do better, I'm not someone to kind of put them down for that. So overall, I think the changes are really good. I think some of the things will be hard to balance. And again, I'm happy for so many of you guys that are excited to try this out, and I'll be following very closely. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Appreciate all of your time, and I'll see you all in the next one.